Let's be brutally honest right now. That's a big question.
I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to go to base camp, but they want to go to the very top.
Whether it's here, India, New York.
Civilization was born at happy hour.
That's what wins. That's what stands out. That's what people are interested in.
That's what I want to know.
The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson.
Hello and welcome to episode 149 of the Hospopreneurs Podcast. Born from food service industry disruptor, The Village Co., Grub Lab is a children's entertainment solution for hospitality venues. Founder of both of those entities, Mick Carr joins me on the program today, shortly after the announcement of Grub Lab's collaboration with the NRL. Designed to engage and entertain children in these restless spaces, Grub Lab seeks to innovate in a unique way with an augmented reality smart device app that brings content to life. So that we can keep the lights on, there's a company I'd like to share with you. It's called Access Collins. They're the only fully integrated end-to-end system on the market for comprehensive booking and event management. No one else does this. Their platform is helping operators increase foot traffic, maximize revenue, tackle no-shows, and save many hours each week through automation. Find out more at bit.ly/hospo sponsor. Hello and welcome to the show, Mick.
G'day, James. How you doing?
Very well. It's a pleasure to have you on and hear about your work with Grub Lab. You've got some collaborations. We're going to open that up a little bit more in the episode today and hear about your experience and developing the business as well. But just before I do open up the questions, the first question that I like to ask is a crazy hospitality story or exceptional hospitality experience. We'd like to know what you're bringing to the program today.
Probably one crazy story around hospitality is probably the way we do business. We normally have our board meetings in Sydney every month, and we like to retire back to the establishment there on George Street. And early on, we started wearing pink shirts and pink hats. That's our brand. And what we found was that in the early days, prior to the pink shirts, we were struggling to get served for drinks. As soon as we started wearing pink shirts and pink hats into the establishment, there's obviously a lot of suits there and high-end business people. All of a sudden, within 5 minutes, we're getting offered 4 drinks standing at the bar. So I think we took that on early, and what we've found is that we no longer do business deals in boardrooms and in line with our brand. Most of our business dealings are done at the establishment, on wine tours in the Hunter Valley, and sometimes that obviously extends to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. business meetings, let's call them, at the establishment. And most of our investments and our partnerships, and we've had some crazy adventures at them establishments from a business point of view that have actually delivered some significant results. So I guess in terms of hospitality, that's been great for us and it's been great for our business to get out of the boardrooms. And we're finding that because we do business like that, people want to be around us and want to be involved, which is great.
Interesting. What an interesting way of doing things there. And a lot of entrepreneurs in the earlier end will be well and truly familiar with that sort of way of conducting business in public spaces like that before they have an office as well. But before, I guess, we open up these sorts of conversations that you are having, and there'll be a lot that you can't discuss on those specifically, but I'd like to know, just to flesh it out for listeners, what it is that you do. Tell us about Grub Lab.
Grub Lab's an interesting concept. And my background was mining and electrical, and then pushed into some other startups that I've had. But Grub Lab's a funny one. I have 3 boys of my own. Obviously, anyone with boys knows that they're full of beans. And when we go out for dinner or, we're out in public, most parents probably won't admit this in public, but, often our kids are, let's say, jerks, for a better word. And in them settings, when you're dining or you're out with friends or you're in a restaurant with other patrons, the kids know when to bung it on to get their own way. And Grub Lab was born out of that. I like to have a beer. My wife likes to have a wine, and when we go out for dessert, we like dining out. And we thought it's something that's sort of been underutilized, and no one's really had a good crack at trying to solve that. And parents will often jam their kids in front of a YouTube on iPad or whatever. And the other thing is when we go out as a couple, we do the hard work of putting our kids with the grandparents, which they love going to, and we dearly love our kids. But we go out and you turn up to a restaurant and you get that nod from them parents with them kids next to you, and the parents know that I think their kids are often jerks as well. And that's the fun thing of going out, is them experience as a family. And what we're trying to do is, we've been told if we can solve the issue of entertaining kids at a restaurant and allowing parents to have a dessert or sit down for an extra 20 minutes or enjoy a conversation that will actually be awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. So, while it's a lighthearted business we're doing and it's fun, there's a genuine purpose here to try and deliver a really good product for kids and families and provide a solution for venues in bringing big brands and entertainment solutions for families to really enhance that dining experience.
There are a couple of things in your answer that I definitely want to hone in on as the questions evolve over the episode. I just want to ask, because you mentioned it there, to flesh out, did you develop this idea from those experiences with your kids, or was it something else that really inspired the business?
I was with a big Fortune 500 company. I'm in Sydney, and I decided to leave. The corporate life was, I'd had 5 or 6 startups previous. I mean, I wanted to leave, but I wanted to do something that had a purpose. And what I wanted to do was help small business. That was what drove me to leave 3M with no safety net. And we did a deep dive into the food service and hospitality sector. And what came out of that was that, out of my own experiences, that I saw there was an opportunity there. There was a problem. No one was putting any energy into it. And then obviously I felt no one was better placed than myself to bring a team together to solve that problem. That was sort of how it was born.
Normally, Mick, I like to ask why you do what you do. So I might sort of step into a more abstract space. You mentioned you had some other businesses before and you worked with a Fortune 500 company. Can you tell us about what really drives you to make this business? What is it that really gets you up and inspires you to do this?
Obviously, the problem with dining out with kids, one thing that drove it, I guess I'm passionate about helping small business. That's one thing I'm really passionate about is the big boys of the world and the McDonald's and these big guys that have deep pockets can build solutions and tech, and they can go and secure big brands that go and help promote their business and drive sales and marketing. Whereas the mums and dads with 1 or 2 venue establishments, even up to bigger ones with 10 venues, they can't afford to spend the big money on attracting big brands or tech. But it's a really hard slog to run a business on itself. So I guess that's what drives me is, and especially our team have really brought into that is helping small business owners, especially, and in the current climate, it's what more fun than bringing a fun product to the market to help these venues as they're coming out of COVID restrictions and lockdowns and the struggles of financing their business and paying bills. And we just bring that little bit of fun, that little bit of spark. I think it's really ignited our team that, hey, we can actually make a difference and help business owners here.
In your first answer, you mentioned collaborations, and I touched on that before, just before we cracked into the interview. Tell us about the sorts of businesses that you're working with now, who you're collaborating with.
As I said, these business owners can't really afford to attract big brands. One thing that I'm really good at doing is forming partnerships with the likes of the NRL. We've just signed a 3-year deal with the NRL. We've also just executed the AFL. Both will be in the market by early next month. And then plus we've just inked a deal with Universal Studios. So we've got 3 big names there. One thing we're really good at is identifying a problem, which we have with entertaining kids in the market, then going away and building a solution, which we have with our app, our marketing, our social media presence, all the solutions with the colouring in activity packs and the stickers that come to life with augmented reality. And then what our secret is that, as a startup, and you'd know this, James, that you have no credibility in the market. No one knows who you are. You don't have a budget for sales teams. You don't have a budget for marketing. What we've gone and then done is we went and sort of found who we felt was the best player in the food service market, being Simplot, who owned iconic brands like John West, Edgel, Chico Roll. And then we went in and engaged them guys. We sold them on the dream of what we're doing, and we're trying to help businesses. And then from there, we've signed a 5-year deal with Simplot to partner us into the Australian New Zealand market. So identify the problem, package it up, develop a solution, and then find a really big partner to use their resources and help execute in the market.
And we've addressed what Grub Lab is from various angles, and you've touched on a lot of different things that the business does and some of those collaborations. To open up what those collaborations actually end up looking like, tell us about what Grub Lab is.
We'll maybe talk about the NRL product. It's essentially colouring in's been around for 30, 50 years longer. It hasn't changed or evolved, especially to meet today's tech-savvy kids. What we've done is we've taken colouring in packs, put them on steroids, so to speak, and we then have a mobile app which brings it all to life in augmented reality, where we actually capture the colouring in that the kid does on the page. We then process that. We then throw a 3D character into the real world, into augmented reality, and then we throw the render on that character as well that the kids have coloured in. So it's an interactive, mobile, techie, an old entertainment solution which is colouring in. From the NRL, we also have collectible stickers. So once again, these stickers can go on lunchboxes on at the back of the door of the kids' bedrooms, wherever they want to place them. And then when you scan them in targets, which are the stickers, we bring it to life. And the NRL is all the mascots. So we've gone for that fun rather than the players. We've started with mascots. We've sort of identified that as an underutilized asset the NRL has. We then bring it to life in a fun way. The characters come to life. They dance around, they tackle, they run, they kick balls. So it's a really engaging element. And then on top of that, we have some gaming solutions. So an NRL strike, it's you flick a footy and hit the mascots and collect points. And we have an AR memory game as well. So it's sort of 4 solutions in one, using the super brand, which is the NRL, to then promote that through local venues.
You must have brought in many experiences that you've had from your previous businesses, these other brands that you've worked with over time, to jump into tech like this and have so many moving parts. I can imagine for a first time founder would be next to impossible. So tell us about what you took from those previous businesses, maybe flesh out what those businesses were and what you took away from them to really apply in your work now.
One of my early businesses was we modified the way safety equipment was delivered to mine sites. Normally, traditionally, it was a storeman handing it out. We invented a vending machine which captured data and tracked who was taking what. And I think the big lesson out of that was when I went into the boardroom of 3M, the Fortune 500 company. They're a global powerhouse, 40 odd billion-dollar company. The one thing I learnt was that these boardrooms aren't as daunting as what you'd think. And I think they're all looking for inspiration, and they're looking for someone with a passion and a purpose in that setting. And that was how I managed to engage 3M in that business. So I guess the lesson we took from that was that when we're going to Simplot was to keep it fun, be ourselves. And that's where the pink shirts come in. And when you bring that energy to a corporate, if you've got a vision and a purpose and you're solving a problem, they will buy into it. From a tech point of view and a team point of view, my one superpower I think I really have is engaging people into that vision. We have a really good board of advisors, which we meet monthly. And we've got some of the best in the business from branding, marketing, accounting, tech security. So we've got a really good team around us. And you're right, I think as a founder on your own, the chances to succeed in an app or a business like this is fairly slim. But the fact we have a team around us, any problems that come up, we can bounce it off these guys, and they're only a phone call away as well. So we meet monthly, but we also speak as frequent as we need to. But I guess I'm really comfortable not being the smartest in the room. That's probably the secret is I'm not, I don't try and cover my inefficiencies. I'll tap into the right people and get the advice we need to help us execute.
Mick, you mentioned there about your team and the board that you have that supports you in the development of this business. I normally ask this question a little bit later on in the episode, who you lean on for advice. Do you want to tell us about who the sorts of people are that are also assisting you with the development of this brand?
I've got some really key players. One is obviously Simplot, and we've got a lot of really passionate supporters inside Simplot. So I think their experience in execution in the hospitality sector is invaluable. They're friendly, so we can lead on them as we're building the product, which is great. Probably one of our biggest supporters is one of our lead investors, Steve Main from PKF. He's got the business background. He's got the knowledge how to get through a capital raise and things like that. What he allows us to do is not panic. He gives us that cool head. We get to step back, take a breath, and he gives us the confidence to execute what we need to. And then we have a couple of really key guys in Paul Meredith from DMCI. So they do a lot of the marketing for Harvey Norming, some of their post-production. And we've got some guys from GHO who work with big brands like Combank and Breville and the like. So we've got some really key people in our advisory team that back us up and give us that confidence to be playing in this space.
You touched on going through a raise. Have you gone through raises in the past or looking at anything in the future? What's sort of on the cards for Grub Lab?
Yeah, we're currently closing a raise at the moment. The raise at the moment is focused on supercharging growth here in Australia. Our last raise, which we closed, was 1.2 million. And when you talk about advisory boards, the beauty there was we actually closed that raise in 72 hours. And that was all through our existing investors and one VC firm that had been on the boil. So I think that it was when you need to raise money, if you've got a good team around you and they're confident, that was one result that came out of that was that we closed that in 72 hours.
For sure. And that, to anyone listening, that is an incredible achievement. So sometimes, to put it in perspective, raises can take months or, an incredible amount of time to close. So it's a good work on that one as well there, Mick. What does that growth in Australia really look like then?
Last month, in the last 4 weeks, we've signed in COVID. It's probably a dip the hat to our team is, I think New South Wales and Victoria were locked up for most of that month period, and we signed over 400 venues. So in a lockdown period, in the middle of a pandemic, to still sign 400 venues, I think is a massive indication of how successful the product is and the job our marketing team are doing.
What's that raise going to allow you to do in Australia?
The current raise, what it's doing is giving us a runway for the next 9 months. And that's leading into an expansion into the States. We're looking to head to the States Q2 next year. Here locally, our target's 1,200 venues at the end of the year, pushing into the States Q2, Q3 next year on the back of some of our big partnerships. Now, we've tripled our value through COVID of the company, and we've got some significant growth coming up through them raises, current raise, and then pushing into the States next year.
You're heavily in the retail experience of hospitality, but given that it's tech, it's supportive of that experience. What does the future of that retail experience really look like from your perspective?
I think it has to be intimate. I think that's sort of where we're heading, and we just secured a grant from the state government, and we're working with Newcastle Uni on a module for our platform, which is all about giving local businesses a digital platform to provide a real localized experience. So they'll actually be able to tighten their brands up with the likes of the NRL AFL product and really engage their local customers and their brands with that big brand.
And in terms of a more sort of tangible, practical example of what the reality looks like for, not just kids, but the parents, what does that future of hospitality look like in your mind?
I think it's exciting as we're coming out of COVID. I think all venues are looking for innovation. That's the one thing we've found is that pre-COVID, everyone was so busy. Businesses were booming. They were struggling to keep up with staff, and they didn't really have time to find a lot of innovation. What we're seeing now is there's a really big shift, and a lot of them tech venues that previously didn't have the time to speak to us, they've taken a breath through COVID and taken the foot off the accelerator a bit, and they're now actually looking for innovation. I think QR codes have been a big driver from a tech point of view. I think it's removed a lot of fear that the baby boomers, for instance, they don't engage with tech. We all know now that they're using QR codes and they're scanning with their phones and they're logging on and they're on websites. So I think it's a really exciting phase that our hospitality is going to embrace this technology shift. Now, as a disruptor, I think there's a real opportunity coming out of this for companies that innovate and stay fresh and can bring a tech spin to the market.
What is it that you're learning about or exploring at the moment? There are a lot of things that you're doing with the business, but where are you pushing things forward and innovating in an already innovative business?
For us, it's probably more around that. How do we give the power to the venues? A venue manager that is traditionally time poor, and if we can solve that solution for them and give them a solution around giving a digital offering or a digital marketing solution for them for their business, that's where we're really pushing hard. I think the hard thing is to our CTO, Chris Hildebrand, he's come from the uni previously, and it's all about showcasing the tech and the advancements and the innovations he's bringing. This is a totally different space. This is about saying, how do we hide it? Look what Canva's done. They've made it such a user-friendly product that anyone can use it. That's where we're heading is how do we give a tool where our venues can jump in there and give an awesome experience and be really user-friendly, more user-friendly experience rather than being a hard solution like jump on and understand how to market social media. To do that and be a venue owner, it's a really tough slog. We want to give them a really simple solution.
So, from the perspective of venues and the relationship that you have there with them, what sort of flexibility do they have over the product that is ultimately delivered in their venue?
Currently, just purely because we're in this startup phase and scaling up, there's not a lot of flexibility. The product is the product, and the brands are carrying that, and they don't need any customization. But as we go forward, that's obviously where we're looking to head. I think when you're looking to raise money and go to the States and do a big Series A raise, the customized factor for the venues to actually create a localized experience that at scale where we don't have to physically jump in and modify something and have that resource burden of trying to do something for each venue. If we can give them that power, that's where we believe the value in our next raise is going to come from.
How do you develop these new ideas in terms of the product or direction that you're heading with the company? I know you've got advisors and you mentioned you lean on them for a lot of support, but being the this driving force behind the business, even initially to get to where you are, how do you work through those sorts of problems, those creative problems that you then have to find answers to?
One is having a good understanding of what the industry wants and and get that feedback. We've got a really good feedback loop from our customer service team and our sales team. And we've got a process in our business that we call dartboarding. And what we do here is we don't just bring the tech guys in or just bring the marketing guys in. We'll actually stop the whole company for a half hour or 45 minutes. We sit around, we pose the question, and then we just throw post-it notes at the whiteboard. The solutions that have come out of that have been next level. The way a techo thinks about things is different to a marketer, and the way a sales rep or one of our exec team thinks. Everyone thinks differently, And out of them sessions, it's just pure gold comes out of that. And then then we've got to process how we implement that into the business, and then we take it through our innovation pipe, and then we integrate that back into the business. So I think that collaboration with our team and getting different points of view is definitely one of the keys.
So how do then you distill those ideas when you've got all these, and I like that, the dartboard sessions. How do you then distill those into something that is executable?
I think it's got to be driven by the objective and the why. That's what we normally set out of that. You're right. Collaboration can sometimes kill a business because everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got their own thoughts and everyone's passionate about their ideas. Normally, what we do out of that dartboard session is we take it behind closed doors with the executive team. We then set a clear objective and why of what we're trying to achieve. And then we just systematically go through every idea. So I guess the key thing is that our team knows that we discuss every idea, but then we obviously have to make a commercial decision. We'd have to make a decision on what we can execute on, what we can do in the time frame, and then also resource wise. So there's a lot of factors, and I guess there's no magic formula, but we normally go through each idea and then either discount or investigate further or put it into our system.
How are you finding competitors in the space? And it sounds like you're trying to move quickly. You're going through a raise at the moment as well to expand as quickly as you can at a sustainable rate. But how are you finding competitors coming in? Are there large barriers to entry, or what does that sort of space look like for you?
Probably one of the biggest barriers to entry is actually finding a tech team, especially here in Newcastle. Tech resources are pretty light on. One of our strategies of protecting our business is signing deals with these big brands. You can build the tech, you can build the platform, but to go and replicate an NRL, AFL, or Universal Studios, and then also the power of Simplot, that's sort of our protection strategy with competitors coming into the market. But I guess the biggest barrier to entry is the cost of building a platform and scaling like we have.
Who are you looking to for other models and ideas in the development of the business? So not just from the immediate team of your advisors, your staff. Who are you looking to beyond that for models, for concepts for your growth and development?
The obvious answer is trying to transition into a SaaS-based model. At the moment, we're a very consumable focused business, and that's where our revenue comes from. We've got some really key, out of our strategic sessions we've got some really key objectives we're trying to set and achieve. And this collaboration with the universities is one of them drivers about transitioning into a SaaS-based model mid next year. And that obviously recurring revenue, scalability and the return and the profit margin is much greater in a SaaS business rather than being consumable. I think a consumable will the activity packs and the stickers and the collectibles will always be a part of our business, but there's a real shift towards that subscription-based model.
At this stage, I mean, you're talking about it being next year, but how does that SaaS model really look in your mind at the moment? I know it's a while off there, but I'm sure you're taking some steps to really build some foundations for what that might look like.
Part of that partnership with the university is they're actually doing an arm's length, call it like a white paper. So they're actually going out investigating with our customers about what they want, what they need. We've got our understandings and thoughts about what we think we're going to bring to the market. So they're challenging that as well. I think it's just about bringing value. We see it with the likes of Netflix and Stan and all these subscription based businesses that if you bring enough value, people are happy to pay a weekly figure. And it's just a matter of delivering the value and then getting that price model set right to where everyone wins out of it, I guess.
This is a question that I often ask every guest is your biggest challenge at the moment, but it's more than that. What I'm really looking for, because everyone asks your biggest challenge right now, what I really want to know is what's really giving you some friction within the business that you're working through. Maybe the challenge is actually insurmountable and it's, something that you can't get past, but I'm sure that you are able to conquer whatever challenge you've got in front of you. So what is the friction that you're experiencing currently?
So the thing that keeps me up at night is probably our logistics, and this probably touches on the SaaS model. We're scaling so quick because we've got the big beast that is Simplot out there pushing our product. Our tech is next level. We've got big brands. So I think our customer-facing product is awesome, as good as anything in the market by far. The issue is that we're scaling so quick that it poses the problem of keeping up with logistics and customer service and growing that team out, just simple packaging products. So for me, it's a physical concern around that product supply and making sure that, lead times and just the typical growth stuff that you often hear that, you get killed by growth. And I never really understood what that was because I never had a business that had grown so quick. But we're seeing it here that just keeping up with packaging and logistics and sales and pushing stuff out through TNT and the likes is actually a real concern of the speed we're growing, keeping up with that logistics.
How are you going about managing that growth and keeping up with that demand?
Obviously, raising money helps. It allows us to increase our inventory on stock on hand. We've currently got a partner, our print partner, we're working through to look at them potentially managing this logistics arm to allow us to focus on what we do well, which is build world-class tech products and entertainment solutions. So I think that, obviously looking to outsource that to a local company here is definitely going to solve a lot of that for us.
So you've grown incredibly in such a short space of time, and you've mentioned you've got some very large plans to be building post raise that you're going through at the moment, and you closed in such a short period of time as well. Ultimately, where do you want Grub Lab to be? What does success really look like for the business?
We view Grub Lab as an entertainment ecosystem for kids, and we're looking to help big brands take their products to kids. Obviously, to hit the global stage in the US is every startup's dream. I think the promised land over there in the US is so huge that this time next year we can be partnering with NBA, NBL, and then have the giant that is Simplot pushing that out through the States. That's sort of the utopia for us. Obviously, COVID may throw a few speed humps at us along the way with international travel and stuff being restricted. But I think the utopia for us is to hit the States. It's just such a big market. But one thing we're really clear on is we need to execute really well here. We need to deliver value, and our product needs to be world class before we even look at stepping over to the States.
Mick, I've just got one last question for you today, and that's who would you like to hear on the show?
One of my business idols, not only like to hear him on the show, I'd love to have a beer with him, is probably Jerry Harvey. What he's done is amazing. And even the way he handled himself through this COVID shutdowns has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And building an enormous Australian brand. So fantastic. I'd love to have Jerry Harvey on the program. Mick, it's been a pleasure having you on the show and having a chat with you, hearing about where you've come from and how you've grown so quickly and hearing about the exciting developments moving forward. I'm really excited to stay in touch as things grow, and good luck and all the very best.
Thanks very much for having me, James, and I love what you're doing with the podcast. Cheers.
This program is hosted by James Henderson. Voiceovers were by Angus Brennan and Shim Phelan. Thanks to our distribution team, and a special thanks to you for tuning in every week. This program was produced by H Media. We'll see you soon.